Is a 90s car worth it in 2026? I'm actually headed to class right now. It starts at 2:30. I don't know if I'll be able to get there on time. I'm hoping that I can. As you can see, it's been raining a little bit. It was low-key raining like really hard earlier, but it died down. But usually when it's raining, there's less traffic. People don't wanna really go out. Okay, now addressing the topic of 90s cars and whether they're worth it in 2026, I believe we need to kind of just go over some of the pros and cons that come with having a 90s car, and then talking about how those pros and cons can be relevant to your given situation. I know it's been a thought that's been in my mind. Obviously, I own a 90s car. I own a 1995 Acura Integra. It's an LS, so it's non-VTEC. And it's my daily. It's the only car that I have. I've had it for about, a little bit over a year. Maybe like a year and a quarter. And I absolutely love this car. But I do get the reality check every once in a while. This car is 31 years old now. So things are definitely bound to go wrong. I've talked about this in previous videos, but my thermostat went out. I had coolant hoses just burst on me out of just plain being old. I had my radiator crack. My clutch slave and master cylinder went bad. Right now, especially in the cold, you can hear it, but my power steering pump tends to whine. My motor mounts are bad. I think I might actually replace them today, though. We will see how that goes. But yeah, just going over the cons. Owning one of these cars, you kind of have to realize what you're getting yourself into. Depending on the car, it can be unreliable. Luckily for me, I got a Honda, so I know Hondas and Toyotas are exceptionally reliable, so that makes things a lot easier. Thankfully, I haven't had to deal with any like true engine problems. This car starts up perfectly fine every time. But I know that's not the case for many other 90s cars. You know, take the Mitsubishi 3000 GT, for example, or the Nissan 300ZX. These are just things that you have to think about when you're driving, and especially if you're dealing one of these cars. It can be tough having a 30-year-old car as your only mode of transportation. There's certain things that are bound to go wrong. Like, for example, I don't have CarPlay. My cabin isn't the most quiet or comfortable. I got pretty lucky though. My Integra was really, really well maintained by the previous owner. So all of my accessories work. My radio works, my sunroof works, my AC, my heater works. I'm very lucky in that sense, because there are tons of examples of cars that have these things that are going wrong with them. Yeah, so I know some people's gauges don't work. I know electronics tend to go bad after 30 years. There's normal wear and tear that you can see with these cars, and it's not the case with all cars. If you spend the money and you look in the right places, you definitely can find clean examples, and paying that extra couple $1,000 pays off, you know, because you relieve yourself of the headache that would come with having to rewire certain things or having to fix problems that could have been not a problem in the first place. Along with that, another con, well, it's a con in the sense of comparison to newer cars, but that would be the power. So, as I said, my car is a LS non-VTEC, and you can tell, like, this shit is slow, especially compared to the newer cars that are coming out right now. They're a lot more torquey, a lot more drivable in the power aspect. But I think that's a pretty good segue into the pros, in that for a first-time driver at least, or pretty much any driver, you don't need a lot of horsepower to have fun. And I think that's what 90s cars, specifically like 90s JDM, tend to do particularly well in, is that fun factor. It doesn't have to make, 300-400 horsepower from the gate. They handle exceptionally well. They're really, really lightweight. Whether you get a rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, even all-wheel drive, these cars are really fun because of those characteristics. They're really good momentum cars. They're really good cars that you can take to the canyons. I love taking the Integra to the canyons, and especially if you don't know how to drive manual, or you want to get better at driving. I don't think there's really anything better than an underpowered car, because it teaches you to get everything out of the car that you can. You're able to learn the power band. You're able to learn the gear ratio. You're able to push the car to the limit a lot easier than a car that's way heavier and has a lot more horsepower. It's a lot more forgiving and a lot more friendly to people that are just learning, Another thing that is a pro for 90s cars would definitely have to be the simplicity. I was just complaining about how I don't have a CarPlay. I mean, look at this interior. It's simple, it's modest, but it does its job, and I love it. I think it looks good. The engine bays of a lot of 90s cars, they're pretty simple. They don't have a lot of extra quirks that these new cars have that make it a lot harder to work on. So you're able to do a lot of the maintenance and upgrades yourself, and you're able to learn things that you wouldn't have learned just by taking your car to the shop and have a professional do it, And in that way, it kind of makes the car your own, because you're the one working on it. You're the one putting the miles on it. You're the one wrenching on the car day in and day out, making your little tweaks to make it yours. So now, given that we have these sets of pros and cons, just evaluate the situation that you're in. If you're looking to buy a car for the first time, you have to understand what your budget is and see what kind of cars are within that budget. For me, my budget was just around $5,000, and I found a very clean, well-maintained, stock Acura Integra. And trust me, I looked and I looked and I looked. And it took me a really long time to find one. But when I did, I stayed within budget. I didn't push over that. And that's because I stayed within budget. I could have easily taken out a loan and tried to get a nicer car for a little bit more money, or stayed within budget and got a clapped out 350Z or something like that. But because, you know, I stayed patient and I looked and I looked and I looked, eventually I was able to find something and it paid off. Okay, I made it to school, so let me just wrap this up. Overall, I do think that a 90s car is still worth it in today's age. And I say that because the pros outweigh the cons. They're cheap, they're simple, easy to work on, and they're fun. Yeah, things might be breaking down, things might go bad. Sometimes it's unreliable, but because they're easy to work on, they're cheap, and they're fun, that basically just cancels out all the cons that you have. I think overall it is 100% worth it. I think for someone who has a lower budget, someone that's getting into cars for the first time, or someone that just wants, you know, a project, that checks off your boxes right there. That's exactly what these cars are good at right now. So if you're watching this video and you are debating whether or not to get a car from the 90s, I say do it. They're cheap, they're fun. Depending on the car, they can be reliable, and they're easy to work on. So you're able to learn a lot, not only from driving the car, but from also working on the car, you know? Okay, I'm gonna end it here because I have to head into class right now. If you liked the video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know whether you think it is worth it to drive a car from the 90s in 2026. And let me know any other future video ideas you guys have down below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.